Hello, everybody. Welcome to the uh, 25th day. It's the third episode in the 12 Days of Minecraft series. Today we were going to work on a place to have our storage. So for the storage house, it's going to have to be a pretty big building. So we should focus on having a big plot of land we have down here somewhere as to where we should put it. So we need to clear off a lot more trees so then we can eventually find where we're going to put this. This episode was almost entirely filled with me just trying to build this house and continuing back and forth to cutting down more trees. So that is an early warning. After cutting down plenty of trees down at the bottom, I was trying to get a better look to see just how well any decently sized building would fit down here. I continued cutting down trees and walked back and forth until I thought maybe there'd be enough room, until my axe broke. I decided to pick some berries and ran inside and made another axe. I decided I would cut down some of the trees over here. Perhaps this large area would do well for a building. The tree in the middle had finally fallen down, and I got all the saplings from it. Slowly waiting for these leaves to decompose. I'd seen the sugarcane had been growing fairly well, but there wasn't quite enough space anywhere else to place the house just yet. I decided to break some of the leaves so then I could get started on building the house now. As I had already run out of logs, I decided I'd run into the oak forest, which is just past this birch forest here. And I collected a lot of trees. By the time it was starting to get late, I decided I'd run back and sleep, bringing us into day 26. Getting straight to work on the building, I had finished the visage of the first couple of blocks that would form the door. I decided I would try to begin figuring out where I would be placing the chests, and I would line it with a stairway for aesthetic. Deciding I'm going to have a multi-corridor establishment here, I was working on having a quadruplex here. finally actually getting some of the sugar cane. I also got some of the wheat and replanted the seeds. I finished off the planning of the back corridor and decided I'd begin working on this side. Unfortunately, Sunraku was in the way, so we'd have to move him. Look at him, just sitting in that bucket. I figured I'd move him down here because it was a pretty good spot. Not quite big enough to have any real buildings. Took me a couple of attempts to fill it up, but eventually I realized I should just fill in the bottom. And it became an infinite water source almost immediately.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because
I was visited by these very nice gentlemen. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything that I could use to serve them at the moment. So I quietly snuck back into my home and made sure I was prepared for the next time I saw them. With my shield now ready, that brought me into day 27. As I walked out of the door, I saw that they were ready to greet me, but I didn't want to get a bad omen from these villagers. I made sure that they took care of themselves as much as possible to save durability on my axe, and made absolutely certain that this one was killed by anyone but me. And then I took care of the last. Unfortunately, waiting for them to kill themselves has left me with quite the mess. Filling in these little gaps, trying to find some kind of design that looked halfway decent. I think stone brick was a good look. Continuing on to cover up Sunraku's old home, I was just beginning to place down the rest of where these chests would go. I decided to use stairs, as I'm a little weirdo who makes weird decisions. I decided I'd put down the banner inside of the tower for now, and I slept, bringing me into day 28. I decided I would try with a granite floor with a snow interior, but I don't think it was really working for me, so I decided I would take out the granite and I would try deep slate. I also went ahead and finished up using these stairs. I put it in a way that it had a singular hole in the middle of it, so there would be like a little tunnel all the way through. I began working on the exterior. This dirt was in the way, but I could use that to my advantage. I decided to do a little bit more farming and replanted the seeds, of course. But it became nighttime fairly quickly, so I ran inside and I slept, bringing myself into day 29. I decided I would feed my cows, as I was running out of leather. And I decided I would go get more oak wood, as I was about to run out of that as well. I cleared a pretty fair chunk of this, so I'd have to start really going around the edges of this biome to find any more. I did find this dog, and I tried to tame it, but 4 bones wasn't enough. Maybe next time. Heading back home, you could see the tower just overhead. Continuing to work on the outside of this house, the shell was beginning to come into place. If you squint really hard, you can see what it would become. Beginning to place down the chests until it was nighttime again. I went ahead and slept, bringing me into day 30. Continuing to work on the outside of the house, I was beginning the second of 3 layers that would become important on this journey of outside discovery. Putting down just a few more of these chests. I did end up running out and fixing just a few corrections on the inside. I began working on the 3rd layer of this bottom here. I did run out of more wood. I'm going back into the forest, finding plenty more trees. I continued to cut them down. As I got back, the sun was going down, so I figured I'd quickly try to push all these down as fast as possible. I'd have to come back later to fix some of it. Getting some more of the sugarcane, I quickly ran inside and slept once again, bringing me into day 31. I fed all of my wheat to one of the baby cows and fixed the outside of the wall. Beginning to work on the roof of this place, I felt like something wasn't right, and there was just more that I needed to do with this place. Continuing to add structural support beams into it, I figured maybe if I just raised it up one more block, then the design would come into itself. I made sure to fill in any of these gaps, as I didn't want anything spawning back here when it got dark. I decided these structural support beams would be nice to add a cover for this area. And kind of frame the chests as well. It began getting late, so I ran around looking at anything, seeing if there was any quick problems to fix. Without seeing anything, I ran back, and I slept, bringing us into day 32. Seeing these chests, I wanted to mock the same way that they were going on the other side, so I flipped them around and began working on the structure just in front of it. I saw that I was out of wood once again, running back over here, and finding once again that there were plenty of trees for me. I was beginning to make a pasture out here, as removing all these trees left nothing in my wake. Beginning to work on the front again, I still wasn't quite happy with the way it looked. So I decided I would add a little foyer out here. And after finishing the foyer, I made sure to get a pretty good look at it. And I was actually liking it. But unfortunately, it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb at the moment. So I went ahead and slept. And I brought us into day 33. I went ahead and made some spruce planks so then I could extend out the platform by one after, of course, farming and getting more trees. Seeing the tower over the hill has made me a very happy man. Hopefully, you would still be able to see it after I complete this next part of this build, as I decided I would be making a second story to this building. Topping this off with deep slate roofing. Using deep slate half-blade bricks. I would sleep, bringing me into day 34. Just 2 days left to get this entire build done. With that, I had finally covered up almost all of the house. There were a couple of things left to cover up that were still underneath the chests. I ended up extending the centrilic pillars here up one. Is centrilic a word? I'm not sure. But as you could see, there were still areas that I hadn't covered up yet, and I went ahead and fixed that up. I went ahead and made this the second entrance. This would be how you would enter into the top section of the building. And I would sleep, bringing me into day 35. Unfortunately, the top half of this house looked like it was not anywhere close to being done just yet. So I decided I'd have to hurry. I just started working on the roof and got just about a quarter of the way done by the time this day had ended. This section of the roof was quite tricky, as it was a addition onto that foyer. I had just finished the front section of the top floor, which is the side of the building, and I looped it around into the front. And went on to the other side. I was unhappy with the way that the foyer was looking at the moment. So I decided I'd make it one higher. And then added solid blocks on top of that. Coming into this pillar, I realized the pillar was one too high, so I went ahead and shortened that. And I began making this room into a sectioned off area. Perhaps I would use this room for something of more personal use. I could no longer use the staircase, so I went ahead and got rid of it. I'm trying to see my house. The sun was in the way, so I had to kind of look from the side here and not go back too far, or else the sun would blind me. I think it is coming together, though. But seeing the sun in the back means that I probably don't have too much time left. I went ahead and lit up the inside of here and got some sugarcane and decided I would try to get some sleep. It wasn't quite time yet, so I decided I'd get a little bit more wheat, not thinking about how I had to finish the house by the end of this next day. And it was definitely time for me to get some sleep. This would be bringing me into day 36, where I had realized I didn't have much time left. I went ahead and ran over to get all the last pieces of wood that I might need. I came back very quickly and began working on the design of the front of the house, as I at least wanted to get this side done, so then it didn't look like it was unfinished from the front of the shot. Went ahead and add a bit of deep slate to the top of the roof. I think it was a very nice accent. And the way I put it on made sure that no mobs would spawn on top of here. I continued to do the roofing until at least the first half of it was done. Fixing any previous mistakes, realizing I couldn't get back up just yet, so I had to tear some down. But, alas, before I had finished, it was getting very late, and I didn't want any problems. So I decided I would end off this episode without quite getting to finish the top of this build. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of you guys for coming. Have a great day.